Minister Ruairi Quinn, thank you for coming and participating in Chamber's conversations. On taking up office in 2011, you pointed to the need for Ireland to have the skills for the 21st century to meet those century's challenges and opportunities. What progress is Ireland making, and what are the key indicators that reflect this?
Well, thank you for the invitation to talk to your members, and I welcome them to this conversation. There's been a certain complacency in Ireland about our education system. We have constantly said to ourselves that we've one of the best education systems in the world, without any objective evidence to sustain that. We have a better system than many countries, but it's not as good as it could be, and it certainly has great room to improve in a number of areas. I've done a number of things since coming into government, things that were set out in the programme for government. The first was to address the area of the vocational education committees across the country, of which there were 33. Large areas like County Cork and small counties like Leitrim. They've now been combined into 16 education and training boards, which will work very closely with local industry to address programmes that industry requires and which the education and training boards can supply through their array of the former FOSS training centres or the further education colleges that the old VECs would have had. The second thing that I did in that area, again government policy, was to replace what had been FOSS with the new organisation, which is SOLAS. SOLAS is an acronym for basically the Further Education Authority. It will be for that sector what the Higher Education Authority is for our universities and institutes of technology. But it will take its brief from industry, just as the original regional technical colleges, which were set up by Sean Lamass back in the 1960s and 70s, were designed to answer the needs of industry rather than to graduate young people with possible skills that somebody might possibly want. We really have to get right back to that place where industry at all levels, including the SME sector, says this is what we need, these are the kind of people we could employ, these are the kind of people that we can find space for in our organisation, and then let the organisations start to produce people for that area. That requires a constant dialogue and exchange with the employers at every level.
Speaking of skills and future skills, ICT has been to the fore, at least with the members of the American Chamber, in terms of the education system producing those skills, and also ICT pervading throughout society here. You recently launched the latest edition of the ICT Action Plan with Minister Bruton from the Department of Jobs, Enterprise and Innovation. What are the key points of that action plan that will support and further investment into Ireland?
Well, we're doing a number of things in the area that is of critical importance. ICT skills are absolutely essential right across the entire spectrum of industry, not just in a defined sector. When we started first, less than 50% of the economy's requirements were being produced by our institutions. We're now moving to the point where we're at 60%, and we're hoping to get to the point where at least 3/4 of the labour market requirements are generated and supplied by Indigenous Irish institutions. And we're reserving the final 25% for skilled immigrant people who will come here because it's an international shortage worldwide, and companies have to have some flexibility to hire the people that they specifically want. And in that regard, Richard Bruton is streamlining the visas for workers coming in who have that skill sets. We're hoping that in addition to those things, with Momentum and Springboard and other programmes, we're facilitating people who already have a set of skills. Take, for example, a quantity surveyor or somebody in the building economic sector who's now sadly no longer employed in the way that they were before. Their existing skill sets can actually transfer readily with short programmes that will enable specific companies to use that mature person with a lot of overall skills, but a new set of ICT skills. They're the sort of things we're trying to do, plus recognising that in our education system at junior cycle and senior cycle, not to mention even primary at this stage now, the next generation of people coming out of the education system into the workforce will be much more computer literate and will already be well advanced on the ICT track.
Your department has embarked on a very ambitious reform of the junior cycle. Why is that so important?
Well, it follows rationally and logically in the answer I've just given you to the question of ICT. We don't need to train people how to remember anymore. We really need to train them how to think. Because all the information is stored in the iPad. I've been in primary schools where 7-year-olds are now actually using iPads. They know where the information is stored. You don't have to store it in your head when you know where to find it. What we do need to do is to train people how to think and how to solve problems, and how to think laterally, and how to work in groups. Essentially, if you are familiar with a primary school classroom, it's a series of clusters of people around small tables, talking to each other, working together and sorting out problems. And that's the way they go from junior infants right up to the age of 12. And then under our present system, we put them into a classroom that's completely alien. It's 30 individual desks or 16 pairs where you sit beside each other, but you never look at each other's work. You don't talk, you're not allowed to talk. You have to listen to the teacher and you have to listen to remember. And at the end of that, you're put into an examination, a state examination, with 11 subjects at the age of 15 in June. And it's all about memory, all about memory. We don't want people to leave school at 15, 16 anymore, therefore we don't need a state examination. And that's why I'm getting rid of the state examination, reducing the number of subjects that are examined and tested, and also having a mix of moderation and examination. Yes, there will be examination papers at the end of third year, but only 60% of the marks in the totality of that subject, be it French or English or science, will in fact be awarded on the basis of your performance in that paper. The other 40% will be based on forms of assessment, which we're now exploring with the teachers and with others to see how best it can be implemented. This is international best practice. This is what other countries whose standards we would aspire to, like Finland or New Zealand or Scotland, this is what they're trying to do, and this is the way forward.
Minister, recently the American Chamber did an audit of US multinationals here to see what the social impact of the investment is having in the communities that they're in. One of the interesting facts that came out of that employees in multinationals had donated as part of the company over 160,000 hours, volunteer hours, to over 2,000 projects, 40% of which were in the education sphere. How important do you think the education industry engagement process is in terms of developing the skills of the 21st century, and where would you like to see it improved?
Well, I think the partnership between industry, whatever the activity of that industry is, and schools in general and pupils in particular is critically important. First and foremost, there's the role model of a young employee in their late 20s, early 30s, who's close enough in age to relate to a 15 or 16-year-old who's still in school. Secondly, there's the opening up that exchange provides for, we say, possibly a visit to the place of work, where the young employee is delivering the day job as distinct from volunteering in a school. And then there's real catch-up opportunities for helping slow learners, for giving confidence to young people in groups, breaking down some of the stereotypes that are there at the moment. And it's just a fresh personality in the school space as distinct from the teacher. It's a comfortable place for people to be. The young volunteers from industry themselves are comfortable because they're in a space that they've only recently left. And it works very, very well. I have argued, and I'm delighted to see that many of your members have been down that trail already, that enterprise in any location around the country should adopt a school, should have an open day for what that enterprise does, so that not just customers or clients or service providers come in and out of the reception desk, but that the local community, including the local school, and certainly transition year students, that's those who've just done their junior cert who are now 15, 16 years of age and beginning to wonder, what am I going to do with my adult life? And who've no idea of what actually happens behind the many doors in industrial estates and office parks as to what actually work is like.
We take that as a call to arms then. In a recent speech, you indicated that you wanted to see a situation where people leaving the Irish education system had the right skills for life and work. What progress do you think will have been achieved by the end of this administration, and what will be the big next step for the future administration?
I think the progress that will be made is that we'll be moving away from learning how to do things as to learning why to do things. Because as technology changes, the knowing why to do things will remain the same. How you do it will vary as the technology develops. So it's the old definition, the difference between a technologist and a technician. A technician knows how, a technologist knows why. And as technology develops over time, the mind and the education set of skills that our formal education system provides, because you never stop being educated and being in education. Life is education. It just isn't formalised in the way that it is for the first few decades of somebody's life. You have to be able to critically analyse what's happening and begin to recognise the problems that are emerging, and then assemble, not necessarily on your own, more frequently in groups, start to assemble possible solutions based on the resources available. That's what we're going to have to do. When we come out of the economic difficulties that we are slowly but painfully still emerging from, we will not be going back to business as usual. We have to learn how to produce products and services that other people want to buy at prices that they can afford and at which we can still make a profit. That's the future of this country. There are many avenues where we can explore the application of those ideas. But as Jean Lemasse famously said back in the 1960s, the world does not owe this country a living. We have to earn it ourselves. We need skill sets to ensure that we earn it comfortably and live the kind of life that we want for ourselves and our children.
Minister Ruairi Quinn, thank you very much.
Thank you.